So welcome to another Saturday challenge. So on this video I'm going to talk to you about painting foregrounds and how to get them looking interesting but without overworked. So just lightening that sky, went a little bit dark with it, so just added some water there. So we're going to bring the sky down to there. Nice simple sky, it doesn't need a great deal, just sort of staining the paper really, making that a little bit more yellow. We'll just paint into there. Again, not to go too dark with it. And I'm just going to add a little bit of red in the foreground here, so just strengthen it a little bit. And maybe a bit of brown, a bit of blue. Let's just darken this area right in the foreground. It gives it more strength and makes it look like it's closer to us. I'm just going to switch to the other brush. More of that yellow. So I just want to take care of the shape of that better. So now to make this area more interesting, that we've got several options, but we'll need to just let it dry a little bit first. So just give it a minute or two. So one option we've got, so this is still wet, but the shine has gone. But what I'm going to do now is just drop some water, just clean water, in the foreground, and I'm going to purposely create those horrible cauliflowers and balloons that we try to avoid. Let's take a bit of that crimson, a very watery mix of crimson, and let's just drop that on in places. Smaller further away, bigger in the foreground. Let's go for some blue. So this is now sort of paper that's just drying, but it's still damp. Darker again. A bit more yellow. So just putting abstract shapes in here really, and much smaller as they are further away. Clean water on the brush, and I'm going to do some squiggles. And there is no right or wrong with this, and it may or may not work. So it's just a case of experimenting. But this is quite often how I will deal with foregrounds that of fields and things like that. But or if you've got some shadows in the foreground, you can just add interest into them. So don't go overboard with it. That's probably enough. If you've got one of these little spray bottles, you can always just give it a little, just drop a few sprays on there. And it's probably better to let this dry naturally rather than use the hairdryer, because you want these effects to take shape. And with this, you've got to kind of let it paint itself, but it's now dried. So let's add a tree up here in the distance. There's some branches there. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here, but that's often the best way with watercolour. Just have a bit of fun, see what you can do. So as long as we get some sky holes, hopefully it should look like a tree. Let's just take some of that paint off the brush, create some hopefully tree-like shapes. just use a bit of clean water just to soften that. So what we can do, maybe we've got a bit of a really steep hill there, is let's maybe suggest off in the distance a village. I'm just going to use a bit of dry brush, so just take most of that paint off there. I need to connect up this, otherwise it's going to be a mess. I can just bring that down, just suggest a little bit of texture. Maybe lose my village, didn't work. Just some long bits of grass maybe. I think with watercolour you've got to be prepared to change your plan. I'm just going to take a little bit of blue and maybe just put in a contrasting or a complementary colour there, blue off in the distance. And then I can just add a few darker bits onto this foreground, which will just act as a bit of a lead in. But we've got that original wash underneath that's got that interesting textures in there. So we can get away with just one or two little details. You know, some longer grasses. I've got a big splotch of water here, so I'm just going to put some clean water on that and then just dab it off, and now we've got a moon. So let's have some cattle grazing in the moon. So have a go at the foreground technique, but you know, you can make the scene whatever you want. You know, you don't have to do this. It's you know, let the watercolor guide you to wherever you're going. So we'll have some moon shadows. Let's just go for something in the corner here. Some bigger bits of detail. Maybe over here as well, but we'll leave a little bit of an opening for the eye to enter the painting. So there we go. Experiment. Don't take it all too seriously. And if you can do, you know, something like this in a foreground, you know, you can kind of let it paint itself. Keep it simple but interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.